My daughter's entitled father is finally leaving us alone. Hey Reddit. This came up far earlier than planned, and while I'm happy to announce my daughter and I are finally free, there are some sad news mixed in. Just to recap. I, 34F now, have a daughter, 6F, with Jeff, 37M. We never dated. It was a one-night stand where protection failed. I never regret having my daughter despite Jeff demanding me to end the pregnancy, then refusing to be involved for my daughter's first 4 years of life. 2 years ago, he reappeared demanding parental rights. Our country's courts deny it since he was not in her birth certificate, his decision, and he had never paid any kind of child support. Turned out he didn't care for my daughter. All he wanted was to use her as a replacement for a child he lost with his wife. Now, before I go to the update, I did get a lot of questions to answer. 1. Did I know Jeff was married? He wasn't when we had our one-night stand. 2. Are you interested in Jeff? No. I'm aromantic, meaning I do not develop romantic feelings. I don't think that's a healthy mindset for a long-term partner, so I refused to date. I was okay with one-night stands until I had my daughter. 3. Why did you send information to Jeff? Because my mother recommended it and she was absolutely right. Had I not done so, he could have sued me for parental alienation. By trying to get him involved, I actually came out far better situated to prove I'm not trying to keep him away out of spite, but because I truly think he's a danger. 4. Why don't you talk more about your daughter's emotions status? No offense, but I give just enough information on my 6 years old. I don't think people in Reddit are bad, but this is the internet. I don't really need to speak in-depth details on my child's mental state or her actions. What I want to share about myself, that's fine. I'm a full-grown woman. My child is another matter. I don't even post pictures of her in social media. All you need to know, for the people asking, is she's happy, healthy, and has a father figure in her godfather. She's normal rambunctious little girl. 5. Why was Jeff arrested? He got into a drunk fight. Assault charges. It's completely unrelated to my kid, but could have been used for custody matters. Ended up being unnecessary. Now, to the update. While our case has yet to be reviewed, we were scheduled for September 2025. Jeff's lawyer contacted mine to say they were dropping their demand for parental rights. About 6 weeks ago, Jeff formally agreed to drop any claims for rights or responsibility to my daughter. I know a lot of people are going to go all over, but what about child support? Or inheritance? Keep reading, it should explain why it is not worth it. My lawyer went over the documents to make sure it wasn't a legal trap of sort, and he confirmed they were exactly that. He wasn't asking for anything in return, just a drop. I didn't question more, just had it signed, and now we need to wait a couple of weeks to get confirmation everything is done. Since both parties agree on this, it should be relatively quick to get it through the courts. If it sounds weird that he suddenly just gave up, I thought the same. To be sincere, I was half tempted to snoop around, but I was way too busy making arrangements. As some people suggested, I will be moving. I won't leave the country I live in, but I plan to move closer to my support system, my daughter's godparents. Turns out there's a property less than 5 minutes away from them on sale. There's no home built yet, so I have a lot to do. But that's my intended new home. We also got not 1, not 2, 3 dogs. The cat probably is planning my murder. So with all of these changes, I had to admit, I didn't have time to snoop. The thing is, the whole thing came to me rather than me need to look. I met with Jeff's in-laws. It was pure coincidence. I waiting on some things in a store and they were there. I had met them in passing in that mess of a Christmas party last year. But this is really the first time we talked. My daughter was thankfully at school since the topic was heavy. They recognized me and asked if I could speak to them. I wasn't sure, but I decided to be polite and offered to buy them a coffee. They were very nice, not entitled at all. They explained they were sorry for their daughter's behavior. She had not been the same since she lost her child. Those who called out that she was using her dead baby's name on my daughter were right, and they just wanted to clear the air with me. I told them I didn't personally blame them, but I couldn't forgive their daughter and she was a big worry. That's when things hit the fan. The mother started crying and the father explained Jeff's wife passed away. Self-inflicted. I feel like crap for the things I told them. I apologized, but they were very gracious and told me they knew I had no idea. We talked a little about her, about their grandchild. I found out what Jeff told me about how his child died was a lie. And now I don't feel so kind as to keep it wrapped up. He shook an infant because she was colic. If you don't know what that is, it's when babies just cry nonstop. I was angry. I'm still angry. No one should ever shake a baby to the point they pass away. That's just diabolical in my opinion. He had told me she just passed away from sudden infant mortality. It's a common thing here, unfortunately. They talked about Jeff and how he sworn up and down I would agree with his idea to have my daughter pass for their lost grandchild. And that would help their daughter. They were not really thinking straight, and I get it. Jeff is a charmer, and mix that with grief, it goes nowhere well. There were other things said, but the main thing was they didn't want any resentment on my part to their family or their daughter. I told them that I don't hate them or their daughter, and how sorry I was they had to go through all of this. They gave me a picture of my daughter's half-sister. She was a very cute baby, and I plan to one day explain things to my daughter. I think it's important she knows. I also know where Jeff's wife and her baby are buried. I think not yet, but when things aren't as raw as they are right now, I'll take my daughter to visit her sister. I called my lawyer after to give him these new details. He did reprimand me for speaking to the in-laws alone, but he understood the situation. My lawyer is a good friend of mine, and he tends to be very blunt when I make mistakes. He promised me he's making sure that whatever ties could exist between Jeff and my daughter are fully cut legally. More things have come to light too. People were right. Jeff was pretty much lying to everyone, trying to paint himself as this saintly father that couldn't possibly be part of his one surviving daughter's life. A lot of people immediately judge single mothers here as homewrecker or prostitutes. So I had a few bad encounters with people throwing insults and threats my way. Another thing that came up, which was relatively recent. This was about 2 weeks before he gave up. Jeff began telling people he offered to marry me, but I refused him. That I was always after his money. Thankfully that one lie didn't go far with most people that know both of us, since I've made it very clear throughout my life that I'm never getting married, and I don't need his money. I got into a high-income job to care for my mom, and now my daughter. I don't really care for excessive luxury. His wife passed away not long before he sent the agreement. He didn't want anything to do with my daughter. It does explain why Jeff gave up. I still think he's the most horrible human being that exists, and entitled murderous bastard. He felt entitled to my daughter. He failed his wife, and killed an innocent baby. And I know he knows I'm posting this on Reddit, so if you read this, Jeff, I hope if karma real it gives you everything you deserve. I want to say more, but I don't want to break Reddit's rules. But yeah, here's the good news mixed with terrible news. I might update this post if anything else happens, but I want to believe this is over. I just want to close this chapter and look into a new start. Small disclaimer. I don't know how he got away with killing his child. I have no access to police records or investigation. I'm not part of law enforcement or involved with any judicial entity. For people asking me for more information on it, I'm really sorry, but I can't give you a full legal case. I personally don't know how some people in Reddit get access to police records that easily, because I certainly don't have access to them. All the info I have is what I'm told by others, Chisme, or what my lawyer can find.